Welcome to another episode of Not Your Average Lives. And in this episode, I want to talk about activating abundance through manifesting a vision, like that your vision actually becomes a reality, and talk about feeling abundant. Right now, I'm flowing with abundance. I even have my Grateful Grandma t-shirt on. I just put it on this morning because it was clean. But it's funny how grateful and full of gratitude I'm feeling today. So if you've been following me, you know that I've had an incredible fall with October. I checked two things off of my bucket list that have been there for quite some time. Went to Greece and I went on a retreat, and it was one and the same thing. And so it was awesome. In fact, I'm having Natanya Stamboli, who was the retreat leader. I had her on at the end of June, and she's coming back. She'll be on Monday's episode. We had a conversation, just finished recording it. So I always love my time with her. But this is yet another thing that I checked off my list, and it was like a shocker. I mean, it was one of those kind of moments where like I run around my house like screaming, if only somebody was here that I could share it with when it happened. So a week ago, Friday, this will be posted on Friday. So actually 6 days ago, I found out that I was one of the finalists in my coach's Breakthrough of the Year contest. He does this contest every year for his mastermind group. He has a mastermind. He has two masterminds. I'm in this, what's called next level mastermind. So that term, just remember that term, because it's going to be in something that I share going in a bit. But anyways, I'm in that mastermind. I've been in it for I just had my third anniversary. So 3 years I've entered this contest. In fact, when I signed up with him 3 years ago, my first vision board after I started working with him had this: I want to be a part of the Breakthrough of the Year contest. I want to be one of the finalists in the Breakthrough of the Year contest. So that was on my vision board. So it's almost been on there for 3 years, 2.5 years. And I have applied. I've taken inspired action. I've done work. I've had breakthroughs. I've shared them. I've submitted my video for the contest. But it's hard to get to be a finalist because there's a lot of other really great stories. So I never, thus far hadn't been able to get onto the finalist selection committee or whatever. Not the selection committee, but be on the dais of people to pick from. But up to this point, obviously, since it hadn't been manifested yet, I was not picked to be one of the finalists. So fast forward to this past, like the week of Thanksgiving. Well, it was actually the week before Thanksgiving, and we had to get our breakthrough videos done. So the Sunday before Thanksgiving, they were due. So of course, procrastinated the last minute. So I spent that Sunday preparing my video, writing a script, right? Preparing 3 minutes. I had 3 minutes to do it in. It's hard to get what you want to say in 3 minutes, especially for me. And then there was a voting period. So votes were supposed to be all in. So I didn't find out until Friday after Thanksgiving that I was a finalist, that I was one of 8 finalists picked for the Breakthrough of the Year prize. And the prize for Breakthrough of the Year is $20,000. So it's a pretty nice big prize. So anyways, I submitted my video. I got to be a finalist, and I had to give another speech. So this time it was 4.5 minutes. So I had to give a speech that was to over 1,000 people in my coach does have an event, and normally it's an in-person event, but it's a virtual event right now due to the pandemic. So it was we did a Zoom, and I was on this big, huge screen. And I think there was over 1,000 people that were signed up for the event. So I think when I was on Zoom, there was probably like, I don't know, 600 or 700. So pretty intense. So I had written a script, practice it. I didn't memorize it, but I was so afraid that if I memorized it, that my nerves I'd end up skipping something, and that I really wanted every single word of my talk I didn't want anything skipped, because it all it was powerful. I felt like it was very powerful. And so, and then I knew if I went through it and then I realized I skipped something, then it would take me off track. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to, I'm going to practice it and practice and practice it. So it feels like it's not scripted. And I think it did a pretty good job at that. So, then anyways, cause I have been doing stuff like scripted. So for a while, but anyways, I did it was, day before yesterday where I actually did the talk. Gave the presentation. And then yesterday was when we found out like who the finalist was, or who won, who the winner was. And I did not win. I did not win. And I know the person who won, and she deserved it. She's amazing. She's a teacher. She was a teacher, softball coach, and she coaches softball players, women, high school girl softball players. And it's really an amazing thing that she does. And what she's done in the last 2 years is pretty incredible. And she's, quit her job, and she is now looking for a dream home. And she's even had a second child during all this, building her business. So she, her speech really resonated with a lot of the young moms and people in general that just kind of feel like they can't do things. And she's evidence that you can. So I was really happy for Amanda. But what I did get as a result of being a finalist is I got to be, I got an invitation to go to Sedona, Arizona, to be with the other finalists. So there's 8 of us total, and my coach for 2 days. So my coach is going to give us a 2-day retreat. And normally I have to share him with about 100 people when we do a retreat. So I'm so excited that I'm going to have this experience and have it be very intimate. So it's just when something that you have wanted for so very long actually manifests into your life, it is like beyond explanation of how rewarding that feels. And the fact that I kept trying. I mean, it wasn't like I applied the first year and then I gave up, or I'm, going to take it off my vision board. No, I'm going to keep trying, and I'm going to keep trying. And what I felt is, by me getting to be a finalist, I felt like, I always look for the lessons, and I always look back and say, why now, why not then? And what is this saying to me? Or, what can I take from this? And what I felt like is that I wasn't ready. It was like I was ripening. I was ripening, kind of like a fruit. And when the fruit was ready to be eaten or consumed, and also I feel like the breakthrough that I had this past year, the actual breakthrough that I talked about in my speech, which I'm going to share my speech with you, the breakthrough was the actual breakthrough moment happened 2 years ago. And then it's what happened after that, it was like a follow-up, breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough, right? So one breakthrough always leads to other breakthroughs. So I've had so many, and it, I think that this was the message that needed to be heard. So if I had been a finalist before, maybe I wouldn't have applied again. Maybe what I said this week, 2 days ago, to the audience was a message that was just percolating, and it wasn't ready yet. It had to be heard because I had to experience it and go through the last 2 years in order to even have the story to share. And so that's what it had to just wait for that. It had to ripen to that. And so I'm really happy that it unfolded in the way it did. And it makes me feel so abundant to feel that, because I went in with the intention of this speech. And it's really interesting because sometimes, you can get writer's block, but this just flowed right out of me. It took me probably an hour to write this talk, and then more to practice it, maybe hour and a half to write it, but it just came out. And then of course I was tweaking it to the last minute, because I was like, oh, that can be better. That can be better. But I got so many reach outs from people that it was just so touching to me to know that what the words that I said and the breakthrough that I experienced was powerful to some people in the audience. And one person even sent me a video. It was so sweet. So I feel like, my intention was, that was my intention, is to impact, if it's just one person, to change the trajectory of, what they're going to do next. The whole gist of the speech is about, kind of walking in faith, trusting the universe. And there's so many of us, me included. And that's why I had the breakthrough, because I didn't walk in faith. I didn't, there's too much fear occupied my life. And so that was a really important message, because I have real evidence now that if you walk in faith, then you'll be rewarded. And so it was a message that I just wanted to share. And if one person chooses faith over fear from my talk, it will be worth it. So worth it. So I did that work. I was exhausted. I couldn't sleep because I kept doing my speech in my head, and then couldn't sleep because I did my speech, but then I was like, who's going to win? Who's going to win? Oh my God. What if I have to do another speech when I win? Or if I win, maybe that was the problem. Maybe I didn't use the right words. So yeah, I'm so happy the way it turned out, and I'm so grateful, and feel this just so much abundance from it. So if you would like to hear my speech, will share it with you now. Okay. Are you ready? Okay, here we go. How often do you have an idea but talk yourself out of it because you decide it's too crazy, silly, dumb, ridiculous, scary, or because you worry about what people will think? Well, that was how I lived my life for almost 50 years, choosing logic over my gut, until a day in 2006 when, while attending an out-of-town wedding, I came back to my hotel room a bit tipsy and Googled a guy I had broken up with 27 years earlier. I took action on an idea I had been suppressing for years. What I did that night wasn't logical. My brain screamed, "You are nuts. What the holy heck are you doing?" But I did it anyway. In that moment, I became more afraid of getting to the end of my life with regret than following the super scary but never-ending nudge that kept coming from deep within me. And more importantly, I stopped settling for the life I didn't want. And what transpired was better than I could have imagined. Today, I'm happy to say I call that guy my husband. So you may be wondering how this story relates to business. Well, this is where the Wedmore woo begins. And just a side note, Wedmore Woo is my boss. My coach is James Wedmore, and he is kind of teaches woo woo. And so there's a joke. We all talk about Wedmore Woo. So that's why that's in here. So back to my speech. Okay. Fast forward to BBD Live. That's the event I was at, 2019, where I found myself sitting at a table with 9 of my next level peers, participating in a hot seat, being asked to come up with a question I wanted answered. But the hitch is that they wouldn't give me the answer, because if you've been a part of the BBD community, you know the answer is already inside of you. So my question to the group that day was, should I quit my full-time job and go all in on my business? Mind you, I did not have any indication at that time that I would replace my 6-figure income anytime soon. All I knew was that I was spending 5 out of 7 days of my life doing work that I knew was not letting my light shine its brightest. In fact, it was sucking all of the light out of me. I had been contemplating this move for months. Then, all of a sudden, as the questions were still coming, I experienced the biggest breakthrough of my BBD journey, what I can only describe as a direct download from the universe, and it came like this. Lori, do you know what day it is? It is October 20th, the same day that you ignored all logic and followed your heart 13 years ago. And look how that turned out. Yes, it was the same friggin' day I found my husband's phone number on the internet and made that phone call that forever changed my life. I realized that the universe was showing me the evidence I needed, and the choice before me was to walk in faith or fear. But to be honest, I didn't make my decision in that moment. My logic brain got very loud. What I came to realize while digesting this breakthrough is that by choosing the path that made the most sense logically, I would once again be suppressing what my heart wants. And wouldn't that send a terrible message of doubt into the universe about the work I was doing? So 4 days later, on the airplane ride home, I wrote my resignation letter and never went back to my 9 to 5. After that decision, I felt my confidence and belief in what I was doing skyrocket, my energy shift, and my light began shining brighter than it ever had before. Now at age 62, I've just completed my most successful 12 months of this 3-year journey. I stopped pivoting and began rinsing and repeating a program I love. I made 2 full-time hires. I saw my revenue increase by 1,200% when comparing my last 5 quarters to my first 6 quarters. I also launched a low-cost, high-converting quiz that 9x'd the return on my investment. And I finally launched my podcast idea I had sat on for 3 years, which is now at 31,000 downloads. I want you to know my breakthrough can be everyone's breakthrough. All you need to do is stop talking yourself out of your crazy ideas and lean into the possibility that they are coming to you for a reason. And if while listening, you've received a download of some sort, maybe about something you've been suppressing, let this moment be a turning point for inspired action. Let my story be a reminder that amazing things happen when we walk in faith, not fear. The end. So that is my speech, and a little segue as to what Wedmore Woo meant. And BB Live that I mentioned, 2019 was the event that I just attended, but it's virtual this year. So yeah, so that is the speech that I gave. And I really wanted to, since I know it really resonated with some people because they messaged me, I wanted to share it with you, my listener, because it's maybe something you need to hear. And I felt like really compelled to share that this week as my abundance episode. And so I hope that it gave you a little of abundance hearing it, because, you know, we all can walk in faith, but fear occupies and directs us. And for me, really controlled my life for half of it. If I live to 100, if I don't live to 100, more than half of it. So let's hope, I can, didn't waste that much time, but it is what it is. And now I can go forward and just do better. Just know that. And isn't it interesting how that happened on the same day? I went into that hot seat setting, a table of 10, you know, we do these peer based hot seats, and you have to come with a question. And that was the question that came up for me that I wanted to ask. And I had no idea it was that significant of a day. I had no idea that that was the day that I had made that call to my now husband. And while I was hemming and hawing, and I never cry. Like when I do hot seats and I go and I get coached, I never cry. I often think it's because I have no estrogen left. But in that moment, I cried. I got emotional. I cried. And when I got to that, you know, it's always like the breakthrough comes after the breakdown, is what they say. And in that moment, I got this thought of, do you know what day it is? It was like this. It was like God, or whoever that person is that is like watching over us, said to me, pay attention. This is the day. If you don't have faith, you look at what, there's an example right here. There's evidence that this has happened before. You went with faith. You were crazy, but you did the illogical thing, and look how it turned out. It just was fine. And so that was like, and I didn't make the decision at the end of that, 8-minute, 9-minute hot seat. I continued to hem and haw for the next few days during that event. I had another hot seat with another group of people, and I asked it again. I think I kept trying to come up with a different answer. But by the end of the event, and by the time I got on the airplane home, I'd processed enough and realized, and then that's when that thought about doubt, that I'm sending doubt. If I choose to follow logic instead of my heart in this case, that is a message to the universe, like almost like F you. How can I do that? and I have all these messages, and I'm at that moment, I was like, I just have to trust. I have to trust. This will, if I don't trust, it's going to send the message to the universe that I doubt, that I have doubt. And what I want is just going to, it's going to jeopardize. It's going to jeopardize the thoughts in my head that I'm thinking are going to jeopardize what I want because of doubt. So, and it will just, I'll go back into that logic mindset that didn't get me where I wanted to be in my first 50 years or first 47. Because that phone call happened when I was 47. But anyways, I just wanted to share that speech. I hope that it helped you. And if you're suppressing something, I want you to really think about this speech and whether you're choosing faith or fear. So for this week, that's it. And I'll talk to you again next week. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning into the Not Your Average Lives podcast. If you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe on iTunes if you have an Apple device. You can find free resources and learn what else I have going on at the moment that might interest you on my website at notyouraveragegrandma.com. You can also find me on Instagram or Facebook at Not Your Average Grandma. If you liked this episode, it would make my heart so happy if you could leave me a 5-star rating. You can also add a review to let me know what you like about this podcast, which will help spread the word about it to others who need a little midlife inspiration. As always, be you, listen to your inner voice, and focus on reigniting that lost spark so you can start living your own, not your average life.